Okay, so guys, this lesson is really like introductory. We need to be comfortable within the section, working on what we call the Cartesian plane. Now, some of you would have heard this before, some of you would have worked on it before, but it's really important that we feel comfortable and confident working on a Cartesian plane with coordinates. And I'm going to explain what all of this is now. So this might feel a bit repetitive, and you might feel like, I know how to do this, I know how to work with this, I don't really feel like I need to listen, but it really is so important. There are so many sections in maths that rely on the Cartesian plane, that rely on you being able to work with the Cartesian plane and coordinates, etc., etc. And so if we struggle with it now, we're going to have problems later on. So this is why I'm taking taking a lesson to go through it and make sure that we're comfortable, so that hopefully that's going to set you up really well as you head into maths for the future. Okay, so the Cartesian plane. Basically, and I sort of came up with this in the last class, and I think I quite like my own explanation, is basically like a map. It tells us where certain points or certain coordinates sit on our Cartesian plane. And basically what it is, it's a system for me to be able to plot points down so that I know exactly where they sit. Right, so there are two very important sort of basic structures that we need for our Cartesian plane. And these are our axes. Now we've got two axes on the Cartesian plane. The horizontal axis, which is sort of, let's go like this line that I'm going to highlight in yellow here. This horizontal axis is our x-axis. So x is always horizontal. The other axis, or the vertical axis, is our y-axis. So those are the two important axes that I work with on the Cartesian plane. Now, what these two axes allow me to do is they allow me to plot these points on the Cartesian plane. So it allows me to create this map for myself of where specific points sit on the Cartesian plane. So the first thing we need to understand is what is a coordinate and what does a coordinate look like? So coordinates, I spell it with a dash, your teacher might not. Coordinates are basically a set of x and y values that are paired, so they must go together, that we can then read off of our Cartesian plane. Now this makes sense. I've got an x-axis and I've got a y-axis. So what a coordinate does, it allows me to pinpoint a very specific spot on my Cartesian plane that I am now going to look at, refer to, or work with. Another very important part of my Cartesian plane is knowing that there are numbers on my axes. So I like to think of it almost like a number line. Now we know that a number line, we've got negative and positive numbers that can go all the way up to infinity, but our sort of middle or starting point is at 0. Now I'm going to throw out the question. If you don't know, that's absolutely fine. Can anyone tell me what this point here is called, where the two axes meet each other, or where they like cross over each other? Does anyone know what that's called? Okay, Tato, tell me. Oh, no, Tato didn't want to tell me. I'll give everyone a second if you want to tell me what that point is where those two axes meet. Okay. All right, Matthew, tell me.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, it's called a vertex.
Okay, so that is, I suppose we could call it a vertex, but in like the specific context of our Cartesian plane, we actually use a slightly different label. So vertex is definitely a point where two lines meet. So that's 100% correct. But in the context of our Cartesian plane, we call it something different. Do you want to have a try, or should I ask someone else?
Ma'am, you can ask someone else.
Okay, cool. Thank you though, Matthew. Letabo, tell me.
Ma'am, I think it's an origin.
Good, well done. Okay, so guys, in the context of our Cartesian plane, where these two lines meet, this is called the origin. Okay, now the origin is at that starting point, like I said. So it's at 0 on the x and 0 on the y. So if we go back to, if we go back to the setup of our Cartesian plane and our coordinate system, remember I said a coordinate is x, y. So x is 0 and y is 0 at the origin. It's sort of that starting point for your number line. All right, now this is why I like to say, why I like to think about my axes as a number line. Because in order for me to plot coordinates, I need to have values on my axes. Oh, I did it again. I'm so sorry. I thought I was proficient at this. Clearly not. Oh. Right. Anyways, so we need to have numbers on our axes. Now, you don't have to go up in ones. You can really go up in whatever you want, as long as you keep it consistent. So if you go up in twos, you must always go up in twos, or whatever the case is. But usually we're going to go up in ones if we draw a Cartesian plane. So I'm just going to take this off so that I can fit in some values. So we know that this is my 0 point. If I now move along the right of my x-axis, so if I go towards the right, these are all of my positive numbers, just like it would be on a number line. So every block is 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm choosing to go up in ones here, which is absolutely fine. And because I'm moving to the right, I'm going towards positive infinity. But if you then move to the left of your origin, same as on a number line, these would be all of my negative values. So -1, -2, and so on. Okay, so really importantly, on a Cartesian plane, we actually need to have values if we are going to, or if we plan on plotting or drawing anything accurately. Okay, so that's along my x-axis. If I now think about my y-axis, if we go in an upwards direction, that in my mind means positive. We're going up. So as I move along in an upwards direction on my y-axis, those are all of my positive values. And then when I move down my y-axis, that's going to be all of my negative values. Now, why this is so important to have all of these values here is because when I then want to go and plot a coordinate, I have these numbers that I can then refer to. So this is why I say a Cartesian plane is like a map. As long as I've got a very specific x and y value, I can pinpoint its exact location on a Cartesian plane. Right, so your basic Cartesian plane should look something like this. Your x and your y axis, where they cross each other, we have the origin or the 0, 0 point. If we move to the right on my x-axis, it's all my positive x values. To the left, all my negative. If I go up my y-axis, it's all my positive y values. And if I go down on my y-axis, it's all of the negative y values. Alrighty, so I'm going to stop there in case you want to take a screenshot, or if there's any questions, I'll answer some now. But like I say, guys, I know that this might seem like basic stuff, but honestly, this is such an important thing. Like, it's actually crazy how many sections involve working with the Cartesian plane. So we really need to be comfortable with it. Okay, so if you want to take a screenshot, now's your time. And then we're going to have a look at reading coordinates off a Cartesian plane. Oh. Okay. So I've got a few coordinates here. We're not necessarily going to do all of them. We're going to have a look at a couple. I've left myself some space to write them down, but we'll see how we go. Right, so we've got some coordinates here, and this is now why I'm saying this is like a map. I can see specifically where a specific point is on my Cartesian plane. So in order to read off coordinates, we have to be able to get both the x coordinate and the y coordinate. So my coordinates, just as a reminder, is x and y. So I need to be able to read the value of the x-axis as well as the y-axis. So let's have a look at point A to start with. So point A is this point over here. If I go along to where it sort of reads, where I can read off the value on my x-axis, I can see it is at x equals 3. So my x coordinate is at 3. If I then read off where it is, oh no, on my y-axis, I can see that's at positive 1. So my coordinate for A is at 3, 1. X first, and then y. So we always read along the horizontal axis first, and then my vertical axis. Right, does someone want to try and give me the coordinate for point B? So point B is this one over here with the arrow on top of it. Right, Tandawayatu, can you tell me?
B is 1 to 3.
Perfect. So we read off the x first, which is at 1. And then we read off the y, which is at 3. So we've got a positive 1, positive 3 for the coordinate of B. Awesome, thank you. All right. Palesa, can you tell me the coordinate of C?
C, it's 6x to 2.
Perfect. So read off the x, 6, and we read off the y. Whoops, obviously a straight line, not that weird thing that I just drew. 2. Okay, perfect. So that is the coordinate of
Thank you, ma'am.
C. Thank you. Right, guys, what about, and we're not gonna skip anything just yet. What about the coordinates of D? Who wants to try D for me? Oh, lots of hands. Okay, Latabo, tell me, what is D?
Ma'am, I think D is 7, 1.
Okay, so I agree with 7. So if we go onto the x-axis, I can definitely see it's at 7. But have I moved up or down from or along the y-axis?
No, ma'am.
No. So would you agree with me? I've stayed at the 0 point.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what do you think the y value is?
7, 0.
Good, well done, Natabo, thank you. Okay, so guys, really importantly, if a coordinate sits on the x-axis, it hasn't moved up or down, which means that y is staying at that sort of 0 point. And so that y coordinate is going to be 0. Right, it is a trickier one, so it's okay if you didn't get it 100% correct. Just bear that in mind when working with a coordinate on the x-axis. Okay, so everyone with their hands up. If you have a question, please leave your hand up. If you don't, please lower it, just that I can deal with any questions. I'm going to ask for more coordinates, so don't worry. You will get a chance. Okay, cool. No questions. Awesome. Thank you. Alrighty. So the next one I'm going to ask you to find for me is, let's jump over to H. Who can give me the coordinates of H? Justin, tell me the coordinates of H.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
So the coordinates for H is 3 and -2.
Excellent. Well done. So we read off the X, it's at 3. And then we read off the Y, it's now at -2. Now this makes sense. It's below my X axis, so it's where the Y's are negative. So that Y coordinate should indeed be negative. Well done. Okay, let's try another one. Who wants to give me, let me just get another color here. Who wants to give me the coordinate of Q? Zalama, tell me. Oh, I don't know what's happening.
Ma'am, it's -5 to -7.
Okay, which one should come first, the -5 or the -7?
The -7 first.
Good,
Then
well done.
-7 to -5.
Good, so we read off the X first, which is -7, and then we read off the Y, which is -5. Excellent, thank you, well done. All right, who wants to try for me the coordinates of point G? So just have a careful look at G. Right, Ingalihle, tell me.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
G -1.
Mm-hmm. Is the -1 for the X or for the Y?
For the Y.
Good. So what is X if we read up to the X?
0.
Good, well done. So guys, G is at 0, -1. Now this is a similar sort of situation to what we had for coordinate D. So if we look at D and if we look at G, D was on the x-axis. And so we decided that it hadn't moved up or down. It had stayed at the 0 point for Y. So that is why my Y coordinate was 0. If I then go have a look at G, do we all agree that it's definitely moved down, but it hasn't moved left or right? And so it stayed at that 0 point for X now. And this is why the X coordinate is 0. Alrighty, so always X first and then Y. And in this case, that would be 0, -1. Okay, so again, if those hands are up to ask a question, please leave them up. If you are wanting to answer something, please pop it down just so that if there's any questions, I can answer them. Okay, Unati, do you have a question? Unati?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to put my hand down.
No problem.
I think we have Zalama on the line. Zalama, do you have a question?
Oh, sorry.
Yes, ma'am. I have a question.
Yes.
So, ma'am, let's say there's a what is it called? With the x-axis, it's between 0 and 1.
Yeah.
Then with the y-axis it's -1. What do you
Yeah.
call the coordinate?
Okay, so
for that
just
point?
that I make sure that I am understanding. Let me just take some of this off my scribbles. Okay, I can put those back on, guys, if you need. So you're saying in between 0 and 1. So we're sitting somewhere here and then at -1 on the Y. So a point there. So we definitely can get coordinates like this if we sort of want to plot. That if I look at that, if I'm going halfway between 0 and 1, I'm looking at a half on my x-axis and then -1 on my y-axis. So I definitely can get points that are halfway or partway between two whole numbers or two integers. And then, yeah, it's just a case of trying to get it plotted as accurately as possible. I hope that answers your question. Alrighty. Okay, guys, let's do 2 more. So I'm going to say, oh, golly, Miss Molly. So I want you to tell me the coordinates of both M and L. So you can pop your hand up if and when you're ready. M and L. Okay, Unati, do you want to give me M?
M is -6 to 0.
Good, well done, excellent. So guys, remember that we've had this conversation around the fact that if it's on the x-axis, y, we haven't moved up or down, so y is still at that 0 point. And so this is just -6, 0. Excellent. Okay. Spiwe, can you tell me what L is?
Yes, ma'am. L is 4 and -4.
Okay, so which one comes first, the -4 or the +4?
-4.
Good, well done. So guys, remember X first. So L is at -4 and then Y, which is +4. Excellent, well done. Right, so guys, that is how we can sort of read coordinates off of our Cartesian plane. Now, we haven't done all of the coordinates, which is okay. I think we've got the hang of it. I'll let you take a screenshot in case you want to finish off all of the coordinates. You can take a screenshot and then give it a try by yourselves. And then we're going to have a little break. Okay, so I'll leave it up there for a second or two if you want to screenshot. Right, I'll brain break for the day. Whoops. Remember, get up, stretch, move your body. If you need to run to the loo, run to the loo. And then give a try of our brain teaser brain break for the day. If you have some answers already, you're welcome to put your hand up or pop it in the chat. That's awesome. We like to hear how you guys are doing. But have a look and see if you can see what our rainbow ice cream, our sweet, and our, I don't know, trio ice cream, what they're all equal to. Okay, guys, sorry, I just saw in the chat, we do have 2 ice creams. So we'll go with a rainbow ice cream and then we'll go with the 3 scoop ice cream. Right, so Ingalihle, I already see your hand up. What do you want to tell me about our brain break?
Ma'am, the rainbow ice cream is 16.
Good. So this rainbow ice cream is 16 because 16 plus 16 is 48. So every time I see that rainbow ice cream is 16, just be careful at the end here, there's only 1. So we need to bear in mind what that means about its value. Awesome, thank you. Oops. Okay, Wendy, do you have something else for us?
The second one is
Awesome.
16 plus 94 plus 94.
Okay, so just remember when we are doing, when we are having a look at multiplication and addition, we always want to do the multiplication first. So if we say 16 times 94, we're going to get a massive number. It's like 1,504, something like that. So just be careful with our order of operations, guys. Okay. So we have to figure out 16 times what, and then adding that same number in order to get our value of 204. Anyone want to try the sweets? Palesa, tell me.
Ma'am, I think the sweets are 12.
Good, well done. So guys, these sweets are actually 12 because 16 times 12 is 192. And then 192 plus 12 is 204. So each of those sweets, the pairs of sweets is 12. I don't have to stress about what one sweet represents because it's only 2 sweets ever. So don't have to worry about that. Thank you, Palesa.
Welcome, ma'am.
Right, has anyone got anything for the other ice cream? So that like strawberry, vanilla, chocolate thing going on there. Remember those order of operations? There's a multiplication in the 3rd step, so we just need to be careful of that. Yes, Piwe, tell me.
12 plus 10 times 10, ma'am.
Good, okay, so guys, remember the multiplication has to happen first. So 10 times 10 gives me 100, and then 100 plus 12 gives me that 112 that I want. So this sort of trio ice cream is 10. Excellent, well done. Whoops. Right, so who wants to try the very last one for me? Bearing in mind, we've only got one rainbow ice cream here. Oh, my screen has frozen. Linda, do we have any hands? Sorry, I don't know what's happened to my screen.
Yes, we have some Tokozisi. Would you like to
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
tell us what's going on? What's our final answer?
So, ma'am, you say 8. Wait, yeah, 8 plus 10 times 12.
Okay, now which operation should we deal with first?
Multiplication.
Good, so what's 10 times 12?
10 times 12 is 120.
Good, so we've got 120 plus 8. So what does that give me?
It's 128.
Excellent. Well done. Okay, guys, so what we needed to be careful of is the fact that there was only one rainbow ice cream. So 2 rainbow ice creams were 16. 1 is then 8. So I was 8 plus 10 times 12. And we need to do that multiplication first because according to my order of operations, that is what I need to do. Okay, for those of you with the joke, it says, what does it say? Stop your algebra jokes, we don't get them. And then it says, I don't care about your opinion because that's a pi. So there's the O, whoops, opinion. And if you put the O and the ninion together, you get onion. All right. Oh, chaos. Nice, guys. Okay, I thought, no more hands. Okay, I don't know what's happening on my side today. Nice, guys. Alrighty. So let's now have a look. Theo, the cats are outside the room. They are crying, but I think they're now sorted. I think they're happy. Maybe they'll come in just now. We'll see how we go. Okay, guys, so we've looked at how to read coordinates off a Cartesian plane, but we also need to be able to plot coordinates on a Cartesian plane. And so again, this is a skill that is going to come up in many sections, being able to plot these coordinates accurately, or at least know where coordinates should sit. So when we do this again, we need to remember that a coordinate is an X and a Y value. Oopsie-daisies, getting caught in my headphones. So let's just start with A. So A is at -2, 1. I'm going to use this orange color here. Remember, of course, it's X and then Y. So I go to -2 on my X axis because that's the X coordinate. And then I go to Y, rather, I go to 1 on my Y axis. And so in order to figure out where that point should sit, I sort of read up and read across, and where those two lines would sort of cross over with each other, I plot my point for A. Now I wouldn't draw those lines and those dots and stuff. I would just plot the point A, and that is at -2, 1. So being able to plot our points is super important. And it's important that we remember it's X and then Y. If I had read that the wrong way around, my point would be somewhere else entirely. And so then I'm not plotting the correct point. And so we need to be mindful when plotting our points to do it correctly. Oh, I don't think I said your name right. I'm very sorry.
That's okay, ma'am.
Can you say it for me just so that I can hear it?
Mthokozisi, ma'am.
Mthokozisi. Right, I got it. It'll stay in my head. Tell me, what do you have a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And how do you know that -2 is on the Y axis or the X?
Okay, good. Right. So guys, how do I know which value is which? And that's really important to be able to plot our points. Any coordinate, it's never going to change. Any coordinate is always X first and then Y. So just remember your alphabetical order. It's always the X number first, and then it's the Y number in the brackets. So that's why I knew that x was -2 because it was the first number in the bracket. Like I say, if we start swapping them, I'm going to plot a different point entirely. And so in order to plot it, x first and then y. Okay, so let's have a look at point B. Now, automatically we see a 0 here. So hopefully some little like alarm bell is going off in your head, because we know that when one of our coordinates is 0, it's probably going to sit on one of my axes. If not, that's also okay. Like, this is new. And so we just go and plot our points. So remember x first. So I go to 3 on the x-axis. Now y is 0, which means that I'm not moving up, I'm not moving down, I'm staying exactly where I am on that 0 point. So B is actually on my x-axis at 3, 0. And so when, as we've said, when that y is 0, I've stayed on that horizontal axis. I've stayed on my x-axis. Okay. So guys, what I want you to try and do, if you've got this sort of down or have drawn it for yourselves, that's awesome. If not, I completely understand that it's a bit of a loss to do it. So what I want you to do is just sort of like visualize for yourself where you would go and plot the point C. So this 4, 2, where should that go? So think about your X and your Y. I'm going to plot it, and then I want you to check and see if you agree with where I have plotted C. Okay, so have a think. It'd be awesome if we could try and explain, so we'll give it a try. But have a think about where C should go. Zalama, do you want to try?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am. So with C, 4 should go on the x-axis and 2 should go on the y-axis. So it's 4 to 2.
Good, well done. So guys, oh no. So 4 on the x, so we start reading up, and where those two sort of lines meet, we get our C coordinate at 4, 2. Again, we're not going to draw those dotted lines and stuff. We're just going to plot the coordinate C, but it is at 4, 2. Palesa, is that a question?
No, ma'am. I wanted to answer.
Okay. Do you want to try, Palesa, for us coordinate D?
Yes, please, ma'am.
Okay, tell me.
So, ma'am, on the x-axis, we're going to go to 5, and then on the y-axis, it's going to go to -1 down.
Good. And so where they sort of meet with each other, we plot our point D. Excellent. Thank you.
Pleasure.
So sorry. Sorry, everyone. I just like choked on my spit, so that was fun. Do apologize. Right, thank you, Palesa. Yes, D is at 5, -1. Okay, guys, so 5, -1. Importantly, as Palesa said, that -1 meant I was moving down from my x-axis. So that would be point D. Theo, we've just skipped I, so don't stress about that. I sometimes, if we don't label it properly, it can look a bit weird on the Cartesian plane. So just to make sure all of our labels looked good, we left out I. But if you want to make it I, that's cool. I have no problems as long as you know what you're plotting. Okay, so guys, I am gonna skip on. Actually, I'm not gonna skip on over anyway. Let's have a look at point E. So if you want to raise your hand and try and explain to me how I need to go and plot point E. So I have no idea what I'm doing. I want someone to direct me in how I should go about plotting point E. Zalama, tell me.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, so the with 2.5, it goes on the X in the middle of 2 and 3.
Excellent.
And with the 4 goes on the Y-axis, and the 4.
Perfect.
like-
So my point is going to be here.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys. So, excuse me. For point E, what I need to be careful of is the fact that I've got that mixed number. I've got 2.5. And so we need to be mindful of where that sits. And this is why I say to imagine your axes like a number line. If you can imagine where 2.5 should sit on a number line, i.e. between 2 and 3, you can very easily plot your point. It's halfway between 2 and 3. And so if we've got this number line image in our head, it's very easy to plot fractions. Now, just quickly, if you are ever unsure of what a fraction is telling you, and this will be more applicable to something like H. So I'm just going to skip F and G and sort of jump on over to H here. H is saying a coordinate at -3/2, 0. Now, for some of you, you will know exactly what -3/2 is as a decimal, but that's not necessarily always going to be the case. Now, I'm going to try, oh golly, it's all just gone wrong now. I'm going to try my best to explain how you can do it on a calculator so that you can check yourself when you are unsure of what the fraction is saying to you. So guys, if you've got a scientific calculator, you can either type it in the fraction sort of format, so with like the blocks, and type the number -3/2 in there. And then when you push the equals button, it'll give you -3/2. If you then want to change that to a decimal, like along the first row of little buttons, there's an SD button sort of on the right-hand side. If you push that SD button, it will change it to a decimal for you. So you will get what -3/2 is as a decimal. If you don't have a scientific calculator, that's absolutely fine. All you need to do in that case is type -3/2 on your calculator. So when I say -3/2, -3 divided by 2. Once you have done that and you push equals, your calculator should automatically give you the decimal if you have a non-scientific calculator. So that should automatically give you what the decimal is. So in this case, -3/2, if you've done it on a calculator, would be actually H is at -1.5, 0. So does someone maybe want to tell me, I already see Tato's hand up. Tato, how would I now plot this? Oh no, Tato ran away from me. Right. Would someone like to explain to me how I would plot -1.5, 0? And as Emmanuel said on the chat, you can also just push the SD button on your calculator. Okay, Unati, tell me.
Okay, you put it between -1 and 0.
-1.5.
Yes, between those two, yes.
Okay, but don't you agree with me? Between -1 and 0 would just be -0.5. I want
Yes.
-1.5. So don't I want to be here? Do you want me to say it again?
No, don't need.
Okay, so do you agree with me? It should be between -2 and -1.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So now what do I do with the 0?
You put it in the middle on the origin.
Good. Okay, so guys, because the y is at 0, it's not going up or down. So I stay exactly where I am. And so this is the point H at -3/2, 0. Now, when I am working with decimal numbers for my coordinates, I always like to label the coordinates as a fraction if it can be written as a fraction. Reason being is because just from the coordinate setup, if I now have like a comma for the decimal and a semicolon, it can become a bit confusing to read. So my advice when labeling it, try and use fractions. Okay, it'll just make your life easier. You don't have to. By all means, if you want to use a decimal, go for it. I do just think sometimes it can get a bit confusing. Okay, so Tato, just because I can see your message, put your hand up for me and tell me how I would go about doing F. Okay, I'm going to get you now. Let me just get a color. Right, Tato, go. How am I going to plot F?
For F, we are going to go to negative 3 on the x-axis.
Good.
And then go down to negative 4 on the
Good.
y.
Good. So guys, again, where those two lines meet, I'm going to get my coordinate for F, negative 3, negative 4. Thank you, Tato. Right. Again, we're not going to draw in the lines. We just plot the point. If you need to draw in the lines in pencil just to help you get the plotting correct, that's absolutely fine, no problem. But you don't have to draw them in. So just bear that in mind. Okay, the last one I want you guys to try is, oh God, Miss Molly, is the coordinate for G. So have a look at G. G is at 0, negative 1. And we want to plot G. My screen is just wild at the moment. Okay, we've got a new hand. Tanan Corsi, do you want to tell me? Oh no. Okay.
Our Queen and Tato here to answer. Yes, you can put your
Hello,
answer
ma'am.
on the. There we go.
Okay, cool. Tell me.
Ish. That's okay. Let's okay as up better. I'm cool.
Tanan Corsi, do you want to tell me how I get G?
And because we can hear you, hey? The network is good on our side. We can hear you perfectly. I think that because he's experiencing something on his side.
Okay, so have we
He's
got
trying to
someone
sort
else?
it out. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Oh, no. Oh, Yolanda, I'm sorry, I can't unmute. Do you want to text someone? Oh, no.
I also can't mute. So, Ngozi, are you back with us? Would you like to try to give an answer?
Ish.
Okay, it's okay. Then I'll try and unmute later. I think we have so much hands here. Alessa,
Okay.
would you like to give it as a try? Alessa, you have to unmute on your side.
So you on the x-axis you would go to 0.
Okay.
And then on the y-axis you would go down to negative 1.
Okay, cool. So I actually just plot a point there on the y-axis.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay.
Well done, Palisa.
Okay, so we're at 0, negative 1. Okay. So guys, essentially we need to be able we need to be comfortable both plotting points and reading coordinates from a Cartesian plane. So we spoke about reading coordinates over here when we had a look at all of our different coordinates and got the X and Y values, and we need to be able to plot coordinates. Both of those skills are going to be very, very important moving ahead in maths. And so whilst this lesson may have seemed a bit like, I know this stuff, I don't really need to do this, I need those foundations to be set so that when you get to grade 10 and grade 11 and you're doing graphs and you're doing trigonometry and all of these really awesome things, we don't want you to be stuck on the basics. Okay, so as long as we get it now, we will be absolutely fine for sort of later on. Okay, Tato, I see your hand up. Do you have a question?
No, ma'am, I wanted to answer for Jay.
Okay, tell me, Jay.
For negative 4 on the y-axis, it's just right there.
Okay, so is negative 4 on the X or on the Y?
On the X.
Good. Okay, so negative 4 on the X. I don't go anywhere with the Y, so I actually just stay there. So this is the point J, negative 4, 0. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, we do just have one more coordinate. So would anyone, hands up, like to tell me how I should go about plotting the coordinate for K? Emmanuel, we haven't heard from you tonight.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
So, ma'am, on our x-axis, ma'am, we go to -2.
Okay.
And then on our y-axis, we go to -2 too.
Good. And so my point is actually going to be plotted here. Would we agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Okay, so K is at -2, -2. Again, we don't have to draw the little dots or the little lines or anything like that. We just plot our point. Okay, so guys, well done. I know it's a bit early, but like I don't want to overwhelm the situation. We're going to start with like getting into transformations on Wednesday. So this is now where we're going to start doing the really cool things, like moving them and reflecting the points and shapes and stuff like that. So it now starts to get really exciting from Wednesday.